looking forward to see who is here with us as we are going live with another epic episode of Conversation Change Agents around creating new narrative around mental health. And obviously in this Power Hour, we have phenomenal guests with us. And with Amanda and I, that Amanda will introduce shortly. But Amanda, back to you. How are you? And welcome to another episode.
I'm well. Thank you for asking, Izabela, Izzy, and Kazi. I wanted to before we introduce Mel, I wanted us to do a 1-minute check-in with each other. This is how we run some of our meetings, and just to check in to see how each of us is doing tonight. With the holidays here and everything that's going on, just to get present to whatever's there for us. So just a 1-word check-in with each of us would be amazing. And Izabela, I invite you to go first.
I really feel today a lot of strength. So for me would be a strength.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Mel?
At the moment, I'm feeling expansive, but in an embracing way. So kind of like expansive and inclusive. That's what I would feel today. It's a good day.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And how about you, Amanda?
I am, at this exact moment, I am feeling grateful. Which, just so you know, before we started this live stream, I was in a completely different state. And right now I am in a state of gratitude. So thank you to both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You shifted your state right when we started.
Completely.
It's just because you like to be on camera, Amanda. That's what it is.
Oh God, no, please don't.
But that is also beautiful, a segue, Amanda, to really show how much we can, with the right mindset and skill set and tools, make a necessary shift and snap out of things that give us pain or challenge or difficulty and reframe it, right? And not ruin rest of your day.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
100%.
Context is everything.
So can I'd like to introduce Mel.
Please.
Well,
thank you. Hi, Bob. We just see you. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for being here. It's 3 a.m. where you are. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yes, we're live, Matthew. We're live. Oh, Rob's in the waiting room. That's wonderful, you guys. Thanks for being here. So we would like to, yes, Matthew, Mel is on this one. Yeah, I'm so great. So grateful.
Hi, Matthew.
Yeah. So let's introduce Mel. Mel is an extraordinary human being. Mel and I have known each other since about 2008, I believe.
Yeah, about that.
And we met in New York. I was living in New York. Mel is still based in New York. And we have been, great to see you too, Rob. We have been working together on and off since about 2009, I believe. We started out working together in a nonprofit called United Global Shift, which was created by, hi, Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
Which was created by a dear friend and colleague of ours named Jocelyn Herman Saccio. And we were being mentored at the time by Dr. Monica Sharma, who's the former director of capacity and leadership development at the United Nations. And during our time in New York, Mel and I became fast friends, and we've never lost that friendship. Hi, Chad. And Mel is someone that I look to for friendship, support, guidance, insight, coaching. Mel is a very important person in my life. Mel is also my business partner. And I am constantly learning from him, and I hope that he's also learning from me. Maybe not enough, but hopefully. But it's a very, I feel very grateful that Mel is here, and thank you, Mel, so much for taking the time to be here with Izabela, and I'm very, very grateful for your time. Thank you.
Absolutely. I love the idea of being on the Izzy Kazi show or the Kazi.
And rest of it's history. Rhymes so perfect. You are the creator, but behind Easy Kazi. And it's so beautiful because we're talking about really complex issues, right? We're talking about something that is affecting every single human being more than ever due to wide range of reasons. And how beautiful it is that we have opportunity to deep dive into it and really address that. And as other people are joined here also, Saeed, welcome. Great to see you. And everyone else will open to your questions, comments, and also opportunity to engage. So, with that in mind, obviously, we're also having here just a quick comment and question. I need help connecting to my audio. That's fantastic. It's great to have you with us. And the best part is just show up. Everything else will take care of itself. So take it easy. Don't stress out. Play with a little technology since like a lot of people are having some technology issues, and that is completely fine.
Thank you, Ryan, for being here too. I see Ryan Danluck is here. Thank you. And Cynthia Schaefer, thank you so much.
Yes. So back
Izzy, I want to ask you something. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Should we? Do you think it might be a good idea to allow Mel to expand a little bit on who he is and what he stands for in the world and what he's up to?
Absolutely. And specifically, I was actually having a question for him in those lines, but also what he really feels that is happening right now and how we have opportunity to reframe it. Mal, go for it.
Ooh, someone just froze. Okay. Anyway, first of all, I want to acknowledge both of you, Izzy Kazi, for creating an open space and a safe space for speaking about issues of mental health. I think it is crucially important and a very undervalued issue that influences everything that happens in the human race. So if we can start having safe conversations in public and really start to bring out how all of us struggle at sometimes and how all of us have the opportunity to support each other in mental health areas, it's super important. And I really acknowledge you for creating this space for all of us. So that's a real appreciation on my part. It's not easy to do that, and it takes a lot of vulnerability and a lot of courage. So thank you for that. And as far as I think, man, Amanda, you did a really great introduction, and I really appreciate it what you said. For me, I think the opportunity to look at the world as a creative and its creative possibilities and potential is really important. And I think like Izzy, you asked what's going on in the world, and it's so easy for us to all feel overwhelmed or let down or powerless or dejected or resigned around what's happening in the world, whether it's physical conflicts or social conflicts or climate change or inequities that people struggle with every day. It's very easy for us to feel overwhelmed by those things and kind of bury our heads in the sand and just try to make it through each day. And I think my experience over the last 35 years, both very locally as a city activist here in New York City, but then globally in terms of what's going on in communities all over the world, I've really discovered that we have a common human experience. And that common human experience is both made up of that fear and scarcity, but also made up of hope and collaboration and a real sense of possibility to unify ourselves as a human race. And so each day I wake up like looking at both of those sides of the equation. Some days I want to roll over and stay in bed, and then other days I want to wake up and jump in and see if I can make a difference. but it's always the context of that day is kind of, which is it, which side is it, and it's always a choice. And I've kind of developed this feeling that you have to choose every day who you're going to be. And as you said, is you frame your day, frame your mind, make build a ongoing narrative of, we can do this, and actually we can. And so I think that's what Amanda and I are doing together in Big Change Makers, but it's also what I do with kids and also adults in Game Changers, which is the nonprofit that I co-founded with my partner.
That is powerful. And it's so beautiful because you're touching different stages and ages of people through your work. And this is part of who you are on a daily basis. But then also understanding that all of us respond through this in a different way. And as a result, we have opportunity to share what's working, also share what is not working, as well create new opportunities for people to have a different new perspectives. Amanda, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know that is very close to you and also people around you, and then how this really brings all this together.
Yeah, thank you. I want to just acknowledge to say hello to Aaron Myers, Dr. Chris Walksmith, and Shafiq Ahmad. Thank you all so much for being here to join us. There is a LinkedIn user saying, "Good evening, guys," but we can't tell who you are because it's not showing your profile photo or your name. I'm sorry. I wish I knew who that was. Yeah, it's there's for a long time in my life, and I mean this didn't just start happening in 2008 when Mel and I met, but for a very long time in my life, I saw that there was something was going on in the world. I've been living in parts of Southeast Asia and also Canada and the United States, and I just saw different things happening with different people, and I saw a lot of conflict going on. And also working in the media industry for more than 2 decades now, I also saw a lot of the content that was being created it's an interesting dynamic, because even though we see a lot of violence and things like that in films, and this may sound strange, I myself in the past have actually watched violent films to deal with depression and anxiety. Actually not anxiety, because it makes me more anxious, but depression. So there have been times in my life where I've gone through bouts of pretty severe depression. And when I've watched horror films, you would think that would make me worse because it's such a horrific thing to watch, but it didn't. It actually made me better. And I've done a little bit of research on that, and I found out that I'm actually not alone in that. And the interesting thing is that it's perhaps the reason why I was able to feel better by watching that kind of, sometimes it's complete garbage, was because it took me out of my own head of being so caught up in what I was so sad about in the moment, and took me into somebody else's story of their awful, disturbing, horrific journey. And so I'm not, and I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can't tell you like if that's the exact reason, but all I can share with you is that that's my personal experience. And so, I've always been on this sort of like fence about, what type of media should we be making to make sure that people are experiencing better mental health. When it comes to social media and then the news, that to me is a totally different thing. I see that as being distinct from the creativity that goes into movies for different reasons. Jordan Peele, who is, a prolific director who directed Get Out. He directed Us. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. He just did a brand new movie, which I haven't seen yet. I believe it's called Nope. His movies are, again, quite horrific, I mean, there's a lot of violence, a lot of things going on, but I personally don't feel that those things are what are contributing to our state of mental health. Again, I'm not an expert, but I could say from my own personal experience that watching creative films that include violence or include things like that might not necessarily be what's contributing to our mental health. What I do feel is contributing to our mental health and our state of mental health is what we're watching on the news and what people are showcasing on social media, such as what kind of body you have to have, how you have to look, how much money you have to have, what kind of house you live in, what kind of car you drive, what kind of PhD you have, or if you have a PhD or a master's degree. So our self-worth is being based on what we watch, and that's being driven by social media primarily. And for me, as a social media expert and an influencer, it's my job to make sure that I counter that narrative so that I become a person as a social media impact influencer, as someone that's creating new narratives that are going to contribute to people being happy and feeling good about themselves and knowing that we're all connected globally, not just to our families, not just to our friends, but connected to every single person on this planet, and seeing that all the choices that we make are either contributing to that problem or making that problem better, or solving the problem is probably a better way to say it. The news also, as a media professional, I can tell you from experience, is designed to keep us in certain states psychologically. It's designed to keep us divided. It's designed to keep us polarized, and it's designed to keep us living in fear. So most people aren't aware of those things because they don't work in media. So once we get present to those things, I mean, most people have seen The Social Dilemma by now, and The Social Dilemma is based on research. It's based on science. We know, many of us who have seen that film, we now know that the likes we receive, our brains have become now programmed to our self-worth being attached to likes and followers, literally being attached to that. So if this right now, this live stream doesn't hit 500 people tonight, I'm going to get off this live stream and I'm going to say, Izzy, is this really worth it for us? Like, if we're not getting all these people that like what we're doing, is what we're doing really worth it? Like, are we really? But then to me, it's still worth it because this live stream isn't about my validity. It's about me wanting to let people know that they can come to a safe space to share their personal journeys and experiences and be vulnerable with us and be open about the crap they've gone through and what they've been dealing with and their humanity. So, but with a regular post, if my post doesn't get a certain number of likes, or if I don't gain all these followers, if I fall into that trap, and in the past I have fallen into that trap many, many times, not now, but I used to. And that was that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, because if people aren't giving me likes and I'm not getting the validation that I need, then what the heck is the point?
But wait a minute. Every conversation starts with two people. Like, you got to start a conversation somewhere. And I think a lot of what you're talking about, I don't know if it's good for me to jump in here or not. You guys tell me.
Please, absolutely, Mel.
But I think in general, what you're talking about is this notion that as humans, our world is run by agreement. There's a collective agreement that's constantly being mediated and moderated, and it is largely shaped these days by digital media. I mean, a lot of our sense of agreement comes from your likes and your how many posts you got, and that's how you create this agreement. But I think you also make a really strong point, and that is, I don't think falling outside of the agreement causes a mental health issue, but can be a source of feeling other, or feeling, marginalized, or feeling like you don't measure up somehow, and that can lead to depression or other symptoms. And for me, even as a member of the transgender community, that's been a huge challenge to see, how do you maintain a sense of esteem and wholeness and agency when oftentimes you find yourself in positions where you're the only one, or you're clearly looking different, or you're clearly, the world's not designed for you. And so many people experience themselves as being in a world that's not designed for them, whether you're experiencing a physical disability, physical disability or a racial marginalization, or or any kind of difference, it ends up being a source of stress, right? Because you don't find yourself in the world of agreement. You're on the outside.
Mm, such a powerful conversation from and perspectives from both of you, and I really love where this is going. And obviously, comments that we're also seeing from so many. But I also wanted to kind of tie and show the other spectrum of that, right? Because we have, as you said, completely new standards, and do we agree to those standards? And are they realistic or they're artificial? And if we're always validating what others think, feel, and how they portray and see us and how they measure our value, then it's so easy, as Amanda pointed out, to lose that sense of independence and self-love and self-value and self-esteem, and understanding how we play into this new quote unquote unspoken rules, right? Unspoken rules of everything that is new. And in the same time, that because it's new, people don't understand very well, they fear.
Yeah.
Or because also they don't understand very well, unfortunately, they also attack, as also Matthew mentioned, around how social media is also being portrayed in his world. But what is really interesting here is that we have opportunity to understand who we are, what we're about, and where we're coming from individually. And that will settle itself, who we attract, who is in our inner circle, and then who is resonating with the message. But more than anything, I just want to say everybody is healing in a different ways. For me, for example, Amanda, I remember times, because I come from horrible experiences that crushed not only human body, human heart, but frankly, human soul, and shattered human soul in a ways because viciousness and level of attacks and how people will do to one another till they get to either breaking point or to test out where the breaking point is. And what
Wow.
I'm talking about is genocide, ethnic cleansing, strategic termination of specific ethnic groups, and people that are usually the most humble and kindest and nicest people, yet that they get the most vicious attacks because exactly of those opposite reasons. There are usually leaders in community. They have a huge following because people feel their heart. People, they're popular not because, again, at the time there was no social media, but because how they related to others and how they were able to bring the masses in their inner world and outer world and attract people as a result who they are, what they radiate about. And now on the flip side, what we're having, we have to permit to learn what we fear, what we don't understand, so then we take away our own individual biases, so that we can look at these minorities and look at these different groups and subgroups, not as differentiator, but are just a beautiful tapestry of humanity. And until we do that, we're going to always find something to depict and always something to level up or put down, and frankly, to hurt others as a result of it.
I think that's the main question: is how do you move from a world where otherness is our first screen, our first, like, even in genocide, like you're saying, is there's one group of people that sees the other group of people as other, and therefore needs to eliminate that group so that there's one monogamous, what is it? Monoculture, basically, as opposed to a tapestry, like you said. The question is, what creates that shift? What is it that enables us to see ourselves as members of the human race rather than members of a particular subgroup of the human race?
Yeah, and that's going to take us creating brand new narratives, because right as it's designed currently, is designed to keep us in those, it's designed to keep us in these boxes of othering and differences and all this kind of stuff. And again, like what Izabela was just saying, the uniqueness of every human being and the uniqueness of our beautiful planet and every living organism, the plants in my home, the animals, everything that's living, it's going to take us to have a mind shift in how we view ourselves, but also how we view each other, and getting much more in touch with our interdependence. And that's why we say, Mel, it's a shift from a conversation of me and I to we and us.
Yeah.
And once we start recognizing that, that we are all interconnected, and once we can get present to the interconnectedness, right now there's a very big push for us not to get present to that. There's a very big push for us to identify with groups. And I'm not saying that identifying with groups is necessarily a negative thing. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be negative. But the challenge I see with that is that there needs to be both occurring in the same space. So while you want to identify with a group, so say you want to identify as gay, that doesn't mean that, or just say you are gay and you're start identifying as LGBTQIA. Does that mean that you then have to shun people who are heterosexual? Or again, if you're a feminist, does that mean you have to shun men just because you're a feminist? Or, that kind of thing. Like, or if you're vaccinated, are you going to shun people who are unvaccinated? Or if you're a man, are you going to shun women? And women, are they going to shun men? Or if you're Christian or Catholic, are you going to shun someone who's a Muslim or a Hindu? That's the thing. Really, that's that conversation, the interconnectedness conversation and the interdependence conversation is critical, right?
100%.
Vital. Because while we're recognizing all of our uniqueness and the beautiful tapestry that is the world, we are losing something as well. And we need to recreate that so that's still present for us while we're joining our groups, while we're out there being activists and supporters of the groups that we feel we belong to.
Yeah. It's basically moving from either or to both and. Right?
Exactly.
You want to identify this way, but I'm part of the bigger whole, and
Yay!
the bigger whole. Yeah.
Yes.
Creating the bigger container for inclusiveness and exploration and opportunity to learn. And I love what Chris and everybody else is commenting. But here, Chris, thank you for sharing this. It is all about accepting the present moment, and then also so crucial without judgment. We're so quick to pull the judgment, judge what we don't know, and judge what we fear. When we are in the state of fear, everything shuts down instead of to be in a state of conversation, despite of the fear, to learn and gain shared understanding or understand newer concepts that are foreign to us, right? Then we have opportunity to be in this present moment. Is it threatening or terrifying? What is it if it is? And if it's not, then face that fear again head on and not continue lingering to take away a possibility to genuinely connect or engage. And then it's also about that power. And I love that you put that, Chris, power differentiator here as well, because we deal with issues where when we're fearing, we see the patterns escalating dramatically in current times. The power is solution for a lot of people when they know they're helpless and they lose control and they go in power states and overpower. And as a result, alienate people in their lives or create a horribly damaging dynamics. And then as a result, we see a lot of pain. And as a result, we see a lot of people dealing with plethora of mental health issues. And I want to just bring this up, and we'll have to hear how you perceive this. What really is sad to see when someone has cancer. I had a cancer and I'm cancer-free, which is beautiful, right? But sympathy I received, or people around me that had a cancer and unfortunately died, my loved ones, from the cancer. And sympathy, again, I received because the compassion, kindness was absolutely shockingly huge. On contrary, when I will acknowledge mental health issues and some friends and family that they had and try not to justify their action, but to try to tell them, we're not dealing with normal circumstances. Someone is lashing because they're hurting. They're acting out and they want to suck you in their drama. You have to recognize what's going on, but you also have to know that these individuals are in the pain. Interestingly, human nature reflects completely different and runs in opposite direction and actually adds more drama and very little compassion and kindness. And it's really interesting how we're programmed. Again, go back to fears. And I dealt with fears for so long, not necessarily just my own, but fears of people that really were exhibiting in such a wide range through their behavior, and that they were like, we have to do something about it, right? But I just want to say why we are only compassionate when we learn that someone died due to suicide, but never recognized or seen or extending ourselves in a way that they feel comfortable to share that they're struggling. And that's that struggle to really have compassionate hearts to at least address it and acknowledge it and find ways who can possibly help them if we can't. And that is something that I feel like we're still as a society struggling greatly, because we're not extending equal compassion, kindness, and love and understanding in those circumstances where actually people truthfully, generally need the most. We see plethora of suicide. We see homicide and suicide because people are in so much pain and they feel completely disconnected from others. They don't feel loved. They don't feel like, what's the point? But imagine to have that level of pain that you only think that is the only way out. That is what we're seeing right now. And that is heartbreaking.
No, it's really interesting that you say that, because I think, one, you're right, people have less compassion, but also I think maybe for mental illness challenges, but I also think maybe we're not well enough trained to actually recognize those challenges when they're taking place. And I think a lot of times you may have people that are quite depressed around you and not even know it. And part of it is because mental illness is shunned, and so people want to hide when they're feeling mentally challenged or emotionally challenged. And it's a real shame that we don't have, education even in elementary schools about how to be compassionate and see mental health well-being as part of everyday life. Being able to check in with each other even as children, and I feel like there's a huge gap there in our education around that issue.
And perspective, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to say, Matthew Kilkenny was saying that Richard Rohr is brilliant on this.
He is.
Thinking. I highly recommend him. So thank you, Matthew. Yeah, that's really, really important. And Rob, I see you. You're saying that people often feel disconnected because they don't have a community that makes them confident to feel needed, empowerment to let go of some of that emotion. Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, it's partly our fault. We have created this space where people don't feel comfortable to come forward with how they're feeling because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of us being like, oh, come on, just pull up your big girl panties, or just, go take an antidepressant or go see a shrink or whatever, like get it together, pull it together. There is little compassion for mental health issues. Part of the reason why I've not been completely open about my own mental health struggles in my life is because of the fear of judgment. I'm a human, but it's part of, we've created this space, this society where, like you were saying about having cancer and how much compassion you receive from that. I struggle every day with a debilitating illness that affects me immensely on a psychological level, because I wake up every day into a body that doesn't want me to move. It doesn't want me to do anything but lay in my bed because the symptoms are so bad. And you can imagine that after going through something like that for 6 years, what that does to a person's psyche. So I've now been diagnosed with what's called PTSD, chronic PTSD, and that's a direct result of living with something for so long and the brain not understanding why the body hasn't been able to recover yet. My neurologist has told me, and my therapist. So it's an interesting thing, how much compassion we automatically just dump into people's lives and into their spaces and into their energy when someone says I have cancer, or someone says I've got, whatever it may be, multiple sclerosis, motor neurons disease, ALS, whatever it may be, that we all of a sudden have this immense amount of compassion. But the moment that someone says I'm struggling with my mental health, it's like take a pill, see a psychiatrist, go do, it's like, it's just like we have to be this tough, strong, and just look what happened with Twitch. I mean, this is like this person who I spoke to someone earlier today, and they said that they were, I believe it was earlier today, or was it yesterday? I can't remember, but they said that they were 1 degree separated from Twitch, insofar that they probably were going to end up working with him. I just spoke with this person last night, as a matter of fact. They end up working with him, and to see what had happened to him was very disturbing for them, because they're also a mental health advocate, like the three of us here. And Twitch never displayed this kind of mental health struggle, at least not with the group of people that she knows, who are all very close to him, and in the public eye. And so what do we do so that I feel comfortable, me, Amanda, and so that Twitch feels comfortable, and so that Izzy feels comfortable, and Mel feels comfortable, and Rob feels comfortable, and Matthew feels comfortable, to be straight with how we're feeling? What do we do?
I think we have to work hard to get rid of shame. I think that mental health comes so strongly veiled by the notion of shame. And that goes back to this public agreement, right? If you show that you're vulnerable, that your mental health is in trouble in some way or another, that somehow runs against our convention around, our agreement around what's normal, quote unquote. And probably what's really normal, mathematically normal, is that we're all struggling in some way or another. But it's our convention to hide it. And I think we hide it because of shame, right? We don't want people to judge us. And if we can figure out how to create spaces like this, where we get rid of shame, or we overcome shame, or we embrace people in spite of shame, then we're taking a step in the right direction.
Can I just jump in 1 second, Izabela? Just one quick second. I know it's your turn. I just wanted to say that, Miracle was saying that that's why it's so important to check on people around you, because they might be fighting a battle that we know nothing about. And this is so vital to check in on each other. It is so critical, because I'll tell you, that has made differences in my own life, in my entire life, when people check in on me, and when I know that people actually give a crap about how I'm feeling, like really legitimately care, not just like, oh, just because they feel obligated, but really because they care.
Yeah.
And it's shame is the biggest thing, Mel, for sure. It's definitely the biggest thing. I forgot what else I was going to say, but yeah, it's a feeling of being ashamed, and that we're not strong enough. How about this? It's feeling that we're not resilient enough. We have all these conversations about being resilient and being strong and all this stuff. But you know what, though? We're all human. And the thing is, too, we all have to be kinder with each other. Like, I know that everyone says that on LinkedIn, but I mean, like, for real. Like, a couple of days ago, I just had, Izzy, do you mind if I share this really quickly?
Please.
Okay, thank you. A couple of days ago, I just had this conversation with 2 people in my life. And I was in this conversation with them, attempting to support them to work out a challenge they were having. And by inserting myself into that situation, I did it because I wanted to help them work out a problem they were having. But as a result of that, I got shunned.
You got shunned?
I did. Yeah. And it's actually really hurt.
Why do you think you got shunned?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. And I've asked the question, and I can't figure it out. So now it's almost like, so what do you do when you see people having some challenges and you really want to help, and like, that's where my heart lies. I'm not trying to be a martyr. I just really, truly want to be able to support people. And I'll tell you, because Izabela, you support me. Mel, you support me. I have support from many people in my life, many people on LinkedIn. And so when someone else needs support, or there's something going on, and I believe that I may have something to offer, I want to be there for that situation. But then what do you do when you try to do something, and then you end up being like the person that's like the bad guy? Can you give me some advice, Izabela?
um, but just watching everything that others are commenting on, and I just wanted to say what happens typically in life. It's easier to attack. It's usually easier to react, right? And one of the things why people shun, it's also because it's lacking trust, or is
Mhm.
also on revealing themselves and non-willingness to be vulnerable. It's easier for me to sabotage, attack, and run and exclude possibility of dialogue than unshielding and revealing and going deeper. That is
Mhm.
also a trick that so many people play when they are trying to be tough guy, or that they're portraying or who they are in public eye, and all of a sudden now it's like I am bare naked now. She knows more than I'm comfortable, or my ego allows to be, if that makes sense, because we have a shame guilt that we kind of inheritedly of religiously, spiritually, doesn't matter. We inherited from generations prior to us. But we
That's
also have these individual capacities that we are undoing and unlearning, that we're being exposed to. When we realize that doesn't work, still makes me very depressed, or makes me feel that I'm never good enough, or whatever might be the narrative, right? And then you also have a family dynamics, or team dynamics, or business dynamics, and so many additional layers. That's why we're seeing things unprecedented that are happening in businesses alone, right? Why people are not recognizing what's going on, because we are not asking right questions. We're not creating container of safety. If
mm,
I don't feel safe to share, doesn't matter how much I like you, I will be running a different direction. And that is the other thing too. They maybe never experienced that. Recently I had a conversation with someone that said, I never experienced love. I never experienced anybody caring to the level that you cared. But they also still did not know what to do with that. You have a people that may never do that. So we have to really understand your baseline, where you coming from, your
mm,
spiritual journey, your knowledge, your capacity to see the problem so crystal clear doesn't mean that they are
Yeah.
there, nor willing, nor open to it. And sometimes, really, again, people lash and react. Sometimes they shock themselves. I had also somebody recently telling me, I'm so shocked how I reacted. I did not expect this from me. I learned something about me because that triggered me.
right.
So it's a lot of pieces there. But one thing I would say, Amanda, it's always good to meet people where they are and open the door with very one strong, beautiful question. Do you want me just to listen and observe? Or do you want me also insert myself, ask for advice, or offer perspective?
Mm.
That could be something that brings different reactions. So at least if they decline, you know you still did your best and you gave them a choice. When people are open to it, which majority might be, then you will know and will be very clear, and then you can go deeper into it. And it's interesting when you're dealing with the dynamics like that, one person might be super ready and need that, the other one completely can ignore it and then completely bash opportunity. And that also says they're not ready, their pain is greater than opportunity to find a solution. And that's where we have to kind of dance. And honestly, don't take it personal. I know it hurts, but do not take it personal. It doesn't have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And you know in your heart you were not there to be judgmental or stir things up. Didn't work out and pan out the way you intended. Maybe we'll down the road, but at least you know now, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's as a film producer, right? I mean, we're I'm like almost programmed to put out fires. That's like my job. My job,
Mhm.
is managing personalities, multiple personalities in a small space usually, and putting out fires, literally finding solutions to everything. And so when it comes to even working just with people outside of the film industry, it's, if I see two people that I happen to introduce, by the way. So it's like I was a part of that equation from the beginning, and then I see that there's an issue going on. I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. How can I come in here to to contribute to solving this breakdown or whatever's happening between them. Matthew said something interesting. He said, Amanda, maybe it was your truth was too much for them, and I taking things personally, I get it. I totally got that. And that's something, I'll probably be working on till the day I die. I'm a human being and I'm a very deep feeling human being. So, I'd love to say that, tomorrow I'm not going to take things personally. But the reality is that, and I've been, my God, I mean, Mel and I have been doing this kind of work for 20, 30 years now. So it's not that I'm not highly trained in this work to not take things personally. But the thing is that I have not allowed my heart to become so jaded or so guarded, where the people in my life that I care about, that are in my community, on LinkedIn, my friends, my family, where they still can't affect me, because they do. And I allow them to. And that's the thing. I think part of it, is definitely, it's a strength to not allow things affect you or take things personally. But the moment I start to become something like that, then I'm not going to be who I am. And so there's always going to be sort of this thing where I have to be, walking in this thing where I don't take things personally. Of course not, but it doesn't mean I'm still not going to get hurt. So.
Yeah, no, authenticity is really key in all of this. I think being your authentic self, even in the context of being willing to be hurt, is important. These issues are really tricky. I just wanted to answer what Rob was asking about shunning versus bullying. Are they the same thing?
No.
And I think it's a really interesting question. What are your thoughts about that? You said
for me, no. I've been bullied. I've been bullied badly in school. I mean, very badly. And it wasn't the same as shunning. Shunning was someone just shutting me out. So they weren't attacking me. I mean, maybe you can call that silent bullying, maybe.
Well, it's similar in that you're painted into a corner of otherness, right? So if you're bullied, you're basically being overtly attacked. If you're shunned, you're being covertly excluded, right? Those are, so in a sense, they're the same because they have the same motivation, but different tactics, I guess.
It's
a really good question.
It is a great question, and it's a great perspective, but also what you just, Amanda, shared a second ago, authenticity is a key, but also consistency, who we are, right? When we get better, when we get stronger, when we get more aware, it's a work in progress. And I love people like yourself, Mel, and others who take that as a lifelong journey. Inserting ourselves and getting hurt, that's fine too. But it's so important to know, yes, that's part of the life, but also knowing how far we're willing to go. And also we can't push at something just because we have the secret sauce if other people are not ready and willing to receive it, right? So definitely it's important to be available for loved ones and people that we care. But also what I'm finding, this is the hardest lesson for everyone. It's finding the balance with healthy boundaries that we have to have so that you are not feeling suffocated, attacked, abused, bullied, and all of those different things, or lashed out, or whatever might be that flow of energy when you get targeted just because either you're there or because you're kind and compassionate and it's easy or it's convenient, or because you in the past gave extra mile and it's expected again because you're quick to forgive or forget. So see, all of those things can be also very abusive too when we know when somebody is just going to call when they're in crisis. That is also something that we have to look at. What other exchange do we have? What is the relationship about? And it's so beautiful to really always look at and step back a little bit. And I think it's a great opportunity to help us out and look at here what Chris is sharing. And this is also that consciousness and understanding, because some things and behaviors are truly pattern, and some of them are also emotional trap. And just making sure that we really analyze what is it, right? And then as a result, do better because we know better and position better and teach them better. And so the learning continues.
That's always been amazing to me, that the older I get, the more I realize that the beginner's mind is the most powerful tool. Really, because you know, there's so much to learn even about yourself
Yeah.
as you go through
Yes.
life. But I do have a question for you, but for both of you as mental health experts, kind of. Uh, what percentage?
First of all, I just want to make a disclaimer. I'm a mental health expert. I'm a mental health advocate, but I'm a
Okay,
mental
okay. Let's
expert.
whatever it
Yeah.
is. Um, disclaimer accepted. But my question is, w- you know, it's such a broad field, mental health. You know, you have like physical, chemical imbalances. You have, you know, kind of challenges that occur out of trauma. You have challenges that occur out of this notion of otherness. What percentage of mental health challenges do you think actually come from feeling other, or feeling like you're being shunned or marginalized, or like what percentage do you guys think, how big is that problem relative to the other kinds of mental health issues that we face?
Is there a difference?
I think so. I mean, I think there's obviously, I think there's like mental health issues that are coming from like a past trauma or a chemical imbalance are very different animals than the kind of anxiety or depression we might feel as a result of feeling not accepted, right?
Mm.
I mean, obviously, those other kinds also result in some kind of not acceptedness, but there's an underlying core cause. So there's must be someone who's thought about that, or you maybe not know, like um, you just how much of it is socially, like just based on social conventions, you know, and the impact of those.
Mm.
I think that's the main part of it. I just saw Kat down and said for the survivors, the ones who are left behind. Thank you, Kat. I love you. God bless you, honey.
Yeah,
Um, and Miracle, you see, no matter what happens, stick to your principles. Thank you so much. And Matthew he said that he believes in psychology. It's known as floating hostility, the silent treatment. Yes,
mm,
it's a damaging thing to all of us. And thank you so much, Dr. Chris Walksmith. That's amazing what you've been contributing here. Just incredible. Thank you.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just like, and Izzy, you know, I mean, are we going to sit here and say that everybody who's had suicidal thoughts, everyone who's had depression, has a chemical imbalance in their brain?
No, I don't think so.
So that's what I mean, right? Like, so what? So like that's the thing. Like that's why I asked you. Well, is there a difference? Because I mean, sure, some people can go throughout their whole lives and maybe never get to having suicide ideation or suicidal thoughts, and maybe that's because the serotonin levels in their brain are normal and healthy. We do burn our serotonin levels at a very fast rate, and that's due to stress and whatever we go through in our lives, trauma and things like that. But I don't, like I said, I'm not a mental health professional, so I think it's a really good inquiry to be in, Mel. I do think that, with the amount of trauma that most people have gone through in this world, obviously some more than others, um, how do you measure, like, I mean, like, for instance, Twitch, like whatever trauma he went through, like Robin Williams, whatever trauma he went through,
Mm,
like we can all, it would be actually great at some point for us actually to speak about our trauma, like really personally. um,
mm,
I would like that, because when we speak about our personal trauma and actually personalize it, it opens up the doors for other people to feel comfortable to do the same. But and I don't know. I mean, can I say that my depression, or the times I've been depressed or I've experienced panic attacks and anxiety, does that come from the traumatic experiences I've gone through in my life? Or is that because the serotonin levels in my brain are depleted? I don't know.
yeah,
I,
or are they related? I mean, you never know that too, you know.
And I love to share a little perspective on this, and I think it's a very deep and profound question, because that's
Mm,
also comes how we look at on mental health. Period. Someone who had a heavy duty trauma in their life, like myself, but also who worked for over a decade and a half with trauma survivors, severe trauma survivors. I can share something that I, over those period of time, I had a chance to witness and see. When we experience trauma, and when we're in that flight into safety journey, and we get to the safety, And when we work on the trauma in very short, quick period of time, then that we heal, right? We can move forward quicker, better. We open ourselves to learning. And also we don't carry that trauma and easily get re-traumatized as a result of it. I was one lucky one that actually exactly this would happen to me. So when you address that, then is the past. So it's not anymore labeling I am survivor of this or that or the other, but it's more I was and I experienced it. And because of that, I learned, I healed, I understand what happened, I understand what makes me feel about it. And you kind of start building resilience and strength. Not fake, not false. You face that head on. That's kind of been my approach that worked for me. They might not work for others. But I also remember when I had opportunity with others that experience severe trauma and bring them in environment and circles and conversations so they can see that they're not the only one, and then also can hear different symptomatic things that others exhibit. Beautiful narrative of healing, of shared understanding, support, love, care, expedited exponentially healing. To the point that Western medicine and some of my colleagues at that time that were heavy duty master's degree, PhD degree, doctorates, whatnot in mental health and wide range of mental health, not just psychiatry, psychology, social work, had a chance to really look at it as and they were shocked and stunned. Why is this so working well? And how is this not only high participation? Because what I did intuitively gave power back to people and empowered them, and at the same time learn from each other. And there was, and it was amazing opportunity.
Landmark, experiential, you all share together. Go ahead.
And that is exactly what we're coming to do back again. What's needed. And those are the safety, private circles, conversations, not necessarily normalization of issue, but have all the prerequisites to be there. And where I'm going with all of that is just because I experience things, assumption is, oh my God, this is going to happen again. Actually, in reality, not. Because what people don't realize, when you reconcile with your past, when you either had a professional help or whatever help worked for you based on your spiritual or religious beliefs or any beliefs that help you as foundation who you are, then they're going to shift so that you're going to be in peace with that. You're going to be so fully in the present moment, because past is all related to past trauma. And that's where the help is needed there. And so sadly, some people carry that trauma in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and some people will die with that because they never really properly addressed it. Now, on the flip side, when we're in present moment and focusing on the future, that's where really amazing coaches come in place, where coaching gives you possibility to recognize this amazing potential that Amanda has, to recognize amazing potential that you have, Mel, and bring that out of you so the future you is amazingly exponentially stepping into that greatness that every single person have. So those are two huge flip sides that I can talk about for hours, but I just want to say those are the anchors that I hope as a framework can really help to understand where you are at and where you need to be working on and where the prioritization should be. Because you can't go towards future self if you're still stuck in the past and old framework and old self. I hope that helps.
Izabela, do you want to be a mental health coach?
Maybe.
No, really. I mean, Mel and I have been leading this past-based work and dealing with our past and getting complete with our past for decades. So yes, it's all, yeah. No, but I'm really honest to God, being a mental health coach is something that, you've worked with people, survivors, and it's something that I think could really benefit people. I know that Mel and I have led programs where we empower people to get complete with their past.
It sounds like Izabela already does that, though. I mean, in her field, that's pretty awesome. I wanted to point out what Kat Downing said, because she talks about the removal of stigma being critical, and I think we kind of touched on that the idea of shunning and shame and stuff like that. I think that to address so many mental health issues, not all of them, but a lot of them, that is such a critical thing, is to figure out how do we destigmatize all of these forms of otherness that really confront all of us at some level or another. None of us escapes the feeling of otherness. It happens. Some of us have it more than others, but or it's more obvious. But I think everyone feels it, and so that's a really key point.
Yeah. Hi, Sylvia. Thank you so much for being here. And Chad was saying that trauma or never were able to identify the underlying trauma because we didn't know it was trauma until later because hindsight's always different. Yeah, of course. We didn't know how it was going to affect us in the moment. I mean, it's something you don't want in the moment because usually it occurs as being negative and bad, but you never know what kind of scars that trauma is going to cause as you move forward in life and how triggers are going to occur in life when you get into certain situations that it occurs being similar to those past-based situations. And then all of a sudden you can be re-triggered and brought right back to that same experience, that same feeling as what you went through when you went through that actual experience when it took place. Yeah. Also, Chris Walksmith said, I let go of your identity in my life. That's a big conversation, Chris, because
it's a big ask.
in my opinion, in my personal opinion, that's exactly what I want us all to do. Exactly what I want us all to do, because to me, this whole identity stuff is what actually causes more division and more polarization. But is that going to happen? I don't know.
I actually don't want that to happen. I think it's more the non-dual self, like acknowledging yourself as a real entity, but also acknowledging yourself as part of this bigger whole. And if you can't do one without having the other as a physical human being, I think it's there's so
but
many.
identity is based in ego, though, and what you're talking
you're talking.
That's different. What you're talking about is letting go of ego, letting go of that. So if we're going to live in non-duality, then the ego can't be in control there. And when we're attaching to our identities, that's like ego based.
Yeah.
So
it's being attached to identity, I guess, is the real question.
Yeah.
Yes, being open for change and transformation. And I love what Kath is saying. And Kath, that is so beautiful, because what you experience versus what your kids are experiencing right now and what they're going to carry on as adults later on is so crucial. And I think it's so important to be very responsible as a parent what we're exposing them. So through this conversation, we're getting obviously over top of the hour, and it's just so beautiful to see everyone's participation, questions from Chris, Kat, Sylvia, and so many more. Oh my goodness. I just want to really say Chad and Miracle and Matthew and Rob. It's just been such a great opportunity to also hear your voices in this conversation, because we are just beginning and we're recognizing the suffering, the pain, the issues, how little balance, work-life, well-being, conversations, communications, addressing issues and concerns that people are having in working environment, addressing things that truly matter versus what we assume that matter, how we engage, how we reward, how we assess performance, how we assess someone's well-being, what lens we look through, right? We're also seeing so much from Cynthia, Aaron, Rob, Saeed, Maggie. So I just want to say, and Bob, it's just so beautiful to see with all of your different backgrounds, professions, and different places where all of us are in life.
Yeah.
One thing that is common and how similar and amazing we are, we all want to be loved as who we are and fully accepted. And if we allow that growth and journey and help to recognize where somebody can in gentle way work on to improve and what that opportunity looks like, everything will shift. But until we create that space, it's going to be virtually impossible. And sadly, we're going to see more pain points where people will exit because their suffering is greater than they can tolerate any longer. and because they feel alone. One thing I heard today, I just want to highlight this quickly, how loneliness is affecting people, how people that by nature could not be depressed are being depressed now, how they're trying to take action, how everything becomes to extra effort and energy that they don't have, because it's not just one thing. So what we're seeing, when we don't only just need to build emotional intelligence, everybody under sun is talking about, but yet don't understand what that looks like and what that means and how do you measure that, but also emotional capacity that I'm talking about, so that we can truly hold container all of this magnitude of things at the same time, because everything seems like it's coming at the same time, all the challenges, all the changes, and we have to know when to put container on the side, when to pick it up, when to examine, and when to really approach to in a very healthy, holistic way.
Yeah.
So I just want to acknowledge again, everyone. And Amanda, in the closing, any comments, questions as well now, because it was amazing to have you with us for the first session here. So it's been a great, great journey.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. It's been really great, and I love the participation of everyone. So many perspectives, such warm-heartedness coming from the listeners here, and you guys are creating a great space. So thank you so much.
Just thank you, Mel. I want to say, Kat, yeah, Kat gets to say we get to create a space where we can let each other know we are not alone, and kindness doesn't cost a thing and can be freely given. Kat, down in, we love you. We love you. We
What a
love
positive
you.
spirit.
Yeah. And I've had personal conversations with Kat, and like all of us, she struggles like we all do. And we've all got stuff going on. And Chad Harris, he's dealing with trauma. I mean, there's just all of you guys. Rob, thank you for being here. It's just it's there's so much going on. And Izabela, just want to say that, and Miracle, we love you. Having this conversation is getting better every time we have it. And I think that this is just something that is I think it's really great. I think it's great, and I think the people who are coming into this conversation is so important, because the point of this conversation is to have people co-create these new narratives with us. They're participating and co-creating it with us, which is so important to me, and I know to you guys too. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I just want to say again, we love all of you, including not only people in studio, but every single one of you that you participate, and opportunity to also stretch yourself, make yourself vulnerable, make yourself seen, make yourself heard, make yourself known. Because all of us have the titles that we carry in our profession world, but on the end, when we strip bare naked in our own truth, we are equally human as everyone else. And that's why I also want to say, why is this message from the world, about the world, to the world? It's about, again, humanity, oneness, and amazing journey for us to walk each other's home. And let's do that, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Until
all right.
Next Thursday, we want to say goodbyes and look forward for more of the questions that we're going to address and some hot topics around changing mental health narrative.
Yes.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, and Miracle, humanity is what unites us. Yes, thank you. You're amazing. Thank you, both of you.